Hey Waffle Gang, I do hope you are well. My name is Mark and today we're checking out some more Reddit stories, and if you do love a Reddit story, why not consider hitting that like, subscribe, maybe that notification bell too, and let's crack on with today's first story. Much love, guys. Now today's first story comes from the relationship advice subreddit from a throwaway account who says, my 18 female boyfriend and his friends, 18, 19 male, played a viciously cruel prank on an older couple who has lost their cat. Obviously, I'm breaking up with him, but what else can I do to make this right? I've been with my boyfriend for about a year. We are both honor students who are graduating in about a month. He's a good guy and we were going to try to make it work even though we were going to different out-of-state schools. However, he has a group of friends and when he's with them, he does very stupid things. He was out with them last night and he called me and told me he was at Purple Heart Park if I wanted to come see them. I live about a block away in Rita, so I told my parents and they were fine with me going. When I got there, they were like rolling on the ground, they were laughing so hard. I asked them what was so funny, and they wouldn't say. Then one pointed to an older couple who was walking around with a flashlight calling the obvious name of a pet. I could not figure out what was so funny about that, but as the couple came closer to us, they said we needed to leave. When we got in my boyfriend's car, they absolutely lost it with laughter. I asked them what happened, and maybe 30 minutes prior, one of them spotted a missing cat poster and called the number and lied and told the owner that they had spotted the cat in Purple Heart Park. I instantly knew the posters since one was on our mailbox and they have been there for maybe 6 weeks. In Tuscan, we know that when a cat is gone that long, a coyote had gotten it. I wanted to throw up. This was so cruel to do to those poor people, to give them hope like that. I demanded to be taken home that second, and he did. I didn't say a word to any of them, and I hate that I even know this happened. I'm going to break up with him, but what can I or should I do to make this up to this poor couple who was missing the cat? I'm devastated with guilt and I know something about it, but don't know what I should do. I can't ask my parents because I'm afraid my dad will actually beat the crap out of them and risk losing his job because he's such an animal lover. Bloody hell, what absolute shitheads they are. As always, I try to get into the mind of people who think along these lines, and it's really difficult to... How do you think something like, oh, I see this person's missing their cat. They're probably absolutely devastated. So what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to call them and tell them that I might have seen their cat just to play with their emotions like that. That is wild, isn't it? OP's 100% right to break up with him. Absolute sociopathic behavior right there. And I mean, there's two things you could do in this situation. Absolutely do nothing because, quite frankly, they're the ones that did this and you're breaking up with him already, so he's out of your life, therefore just be done with it. Or you could just phone them, let them know exactly what happened, how horrified you are, and, you know, they deserve to know it was a cruel prank. I hate saying that word these days. And that you weren't involved in what happened, but you just, you know, wanted them to know the truth. But Curious said to OP, to back you up, I can truthfully say there is no way I could continue seeing someone who not only did something like this, but laughed and laughed about it afterwards. Disgusting. No wonder you are so upset. I feel for you and wish you and the cat owners all the best. Solitary Tea Party says, what a cruel thing to do. To be clear, you don't need to do anything to make this right, as you were in no way involved. I don't think it was technically illegal, but very scummy. You could communicate with the couple on an anonymous phone call or letter, only if you want to, and tell them what happened. Or you could tell your social group why you dumped him and let it spread, though that could cause trouble for you in the long run. But whatever you do or don't do, I'm glad you aren't staying with someone like that. Best of luck. So it was 4 days after this that OP did come in with an update and said, so I posted the original on Sunday morning after it all happened and here it is. Then shared the link and OP said, so basically breaking up with my boyfriend was an easy decision. I did it over text. He said that after a year he deserved better than a text breakup. I said after what I saw him do on Saturday night, he really didn't. He tried to say that the prank was not his idea. I really needed to cut him some slack. I said that maybe it wasn't his idea. I saw him laughing just as hard as his friends, and that was enough for me. He's been a total shit at school, but it's turning on him bad when I explained to people why we broke up and who he was with. A guy who graduated last year who is such a creep. What was harder is what I should do with the people. I had two choices as I saw it. Either not call and let them have false hope that the cat was still alive, or call them and let them know that they had been pranked. Basically, after thinking about it all day, I decided if it were my dogs in question, I'd want all the info I could get. I was so nervous calling them, but the lady answered and I think they said I had some information about their lost cat. She basically stopped me and said that it was a miracle, but their cat had been turned into Pima Country Animal Control 2 days prior, and they'd finally gotten a return on the chip, and they called them that very morning, and they'd just gotten the cat home. I was so relieved because I didn't have to tell them some awful news about how my boyfriend was a piece of shit. I was also happy for her because she seemed so happy. I told her I was very happy her cat was home and said goodbye. So that's like really good news, and I'm really happy to be rid of my idiot boyfriend. Oh my word, thank goodness in the end. I'm so glad that this couple did get their cat back, and I know the breakup seemed very short in a paragraph on this, but it seemed like there was no remorse. You know, he kept saying that it was not his prank and not his idea, but he was the one still there laughing at the same time, rolling on the ground about this, watching a couple with their torches in pain, searching for their cat. That's some wild ass shit, isn't it? But it sounds like things had a happy ending to this story. She broke up with him, they got their cat back, the cat is now home and happy, and the couple is happy as well with it. But what do you guys make of this situation? Let us know your thoughts down in the comments below, and let's move on to another story. And my next story comes from Bryn Mendo from the Am I the Arsehole subreddit. And it says, am I the arsehole for not wanting my dad to walk me down the aisle because he's in a wheelchair? About 3 years ago, my dad was injured in a really bad hit-and-run car accident. He broke just about every bone in his body and left him paralyzed from the waist down. Our relationship has always been really good, but I hate seeing him in pain and admittedly try to avoid seeing him because it just makes me uncomfortable. In November, I'm getting married. I've been with my fiance for 4 years and he and my dad get on really well. Naturally, the discussion of who was going to give me away came up in the family group chat, and I kept silent after I realized my dad would be in a wheelchair. We always talked about him giving me away and having a dance at my wedding, and I don't want to be reminded of what could have been at my wedding. I messaged my mum privately and told her I want my uncle to walk me down the aisle, as we're incredibly close. She naturally asked why, and I told her that my dad being in a wheelchair would add complications to the wedding. The walkway would have to be widened to accommodate his wheelchair, and he wouldn't be able to hold my arm or give me a proper hug. She was outraged. She called me an ableist piece of shit and removed me from the group chat. My aunt has since called me telling me my dad is absolutely devastated. Am I the arsehole? Update. I appreciate all the people who have messaged me offering me support. Your kind words have meant a lot to me whilst rifling through a bunch of messages telling me to do horrible things to myself. Regardless of what you think of me, telling me these things isn't okay. I'm going to call my dad tomorrow. Update 2. Can people stop messaging me such horrendous stuff? Think about what you're saying. You may not agree with me all my life, but you're just as bad as I apparently am if you're going around saying stuff like that to strangers on the internet. I've just been sat here for 5 minutes with my hand over my mouth just thinking, what the fuck? I get seeing your dad's accident is going to be dramatic, but he's the one living it every day. You're talking about, widening a walkway being a complication. It's just a basic accommodation. That's all there is to it. And saying he can't give you a proper hug from a wheelchair? What the fuck? That's absolutely brutal. This is your dad. Your dad. Not only have you been avoiding him for, 3 years because of your own discomfort, now you're excluding him from one of the biggest days of your life. You need to apologize to that man, but I have to say, the words are out there now. You've said this. I don't know if there's going to be any coming back from it, to be quite honest. I tried putting it in perspective of someone saying this to my dad for whatever reason, and If I heard that, I wouldn't be able to look at them the same way again, but Science Not Kids says you're the arsehole. If you're putting the image of an ideal wedding over the man who raised you, you're the arsehole. There's literally no argument to be had to the contrary. Have him and your mum walk you down. She can push his wheelchair. Jumping over your mum to your uncle is arsehole behavior too. Opie says, with the tradition of a male family member giving you away. I didn't really think about my mum. Science Not Kid says, my father died when I was 17. My mother gave me away. You have no idea how much I wish he was just in a wheelchair. Leona says, you're the arsehole. You need to take a good, hard look at yourself. Absolutely disgusting behavior. I don't understand why weddings bring out such despicable behavior in so many people. Your poor father. If I was your family, I'd boycott your wedding. And that's if your fiancé doesn't realize what a horrible person he's about to marry beforehand. Aussie Belgian says, I have no words for you, except for you being a narcissistic kind of arsehole. You're the arsehole, and I hope your fiancé reconsiders his commitment to you and dumps you in the most humiliating way possible. Unsyruped Pancake says, you're the arsehole. I'm a girl too, and my dad has been in a wheelchair for as long as I can remember. I was reminded of what could have been in movies, TV shows, etc. But there isn't a question on who will be the one to walk me down the aisle. When I eventually have my wedding, I love him the way he is. I would never exclude him because of his condition. In fact, I'd be honored to have him give me away. I would have understood your decision more if it was because your father was in constant pain. But he is perfectly able to wheel himself down that aisle and give you away on your wedding day. Your desire to have your uncle walk you down is selfish and cruel. I would never sideline my own father like that. And to top it all off, you didn't suggest this in private. You did it in the family group chat where everyone could see. How self-centered and self-righteous do you have to be to humiliate your dad like that? Someone who you claim to care about. You need to apologize and fast. Then OP's post was cross-posted into another subreddit called r/downvoted to oblivion, which, and OP was replying to some comments there. OP said to one comment, it's been hard on everyone, watching my dad struggle. I don't want pity, but it has been hard. Blank Total says, don't worry, no one's pitying you. OP says, you take a hard look in the mirror and ask yourself why you're so concerned with somebody you don't even know. You're no better than me. Felix the Cat replies saying, has your fiancé taken a hard look at who he's marrying yet? Lol. And then everyone, it was basically overwhelmingly, you're the arsehole in this situation. OP gave a very small update on this one and said, not that I owe it to anyone, but I thought I'd give you all an update. My boyfriend and I have decided to part ways and I've apologized to my dad. Commenter on the back of that said, I just saw a YouTube video covering your post and wanted to ask. You understand now why your original thinking wasn't good and why people were upset with you. Have you changed your thinking regarding your stance for the future? OP replied saying, wedding's off, so doesn't matter. And the commenter replied again saying, while it might matter in the future if you get engaged again, I wish you well. Hope that you have better experiences in the future and can learn from this hard time in your life. Gee bloody whiz, I wonder how the family dynamic is after all this. OP apologized to her dad, but like I said, could you still look at her the same way afterwards? Because it doesn't seem she really cares, which I know is easy for me to say. I'm reading text format here, a very small piece of someone's life, but it was kind of like, it felt like there's a whole attitude behind the text as well. Like the response at the end there, doesn't matter, wedding's off anyway, so, who gives a shit kind of thing. But what do you guys make of this situation? Let us know your thoughts down in the comments below, and let's move on to another story. Now our next story comes from Fantastic Sale 3447 from the Waiting to Wed subreddit. And it says, I got a shut up ring, and then I walked away. Hi everyone. This community was a real light for me when I was in the thick of it, 3 or more years ago now, and I still engage with it now because I really feel for any person who's been in a situation of waiting on a partner. I wanted to share my story and hope it finds who it needs to find today to maybe give them encouragement. Also, I'm no longer with my ex-partner, and I'm also not engaged now, so I don't have it all figured out, and I think it's important to share I'm so happy now. Because sometimes I roll my eyes at people who come back to post about advice only after they've gotten engaged. Here's my story. My ex-partner and I, let's call him Tim, were together for about 9 years. What I couldn't see then, but I can see now, was that there was a pattern of non-commitment from day one. Tim took about a year to commit to being my boyfriend. At the time, I chalked it up to us being young and in college, but that pattern continued. Fast forward to post-grad, and we were both employed and doing really well. Even still, he found excuses. He needed to be promoted first, then was promoted, so then a new excuse would arise. Then claim it was money. Yet, he bought himself a new car and motorcycle. I stood my ground a few times and we would break up and then I'd backslide and get back together. After 9 years of tug of war, we were engaged and it was 100% a shut-up ring. I was hopeful that that was the magic trick that would make me feel whole. It wasn't. He wasn't involved in the wedding planning and everything felt wrong. A lot of things happened in our relationship and eventually I called the wedding off. Everything was booked already. It was really terrifying. The months following, I did feel like I was dying, having to lose someone I did love, but ultimately knew that wasn't the best for me, nor me for him. Also worrying about losing friends since our friend group was so enmeshed, and losing his family who I knew so well. All of the things. Healing took a long time. Therapy, good friends, volunteering, and rediscovering who I was through hobbies. Being okay to be alone. It took all those things. Also the key was no contact. Fast forward almost 2 years after breaking off the engagement. I actually found someone new. I was not looking. It was one of those things I can only now see was a sweet invisible string waiting for me to find. My ex knew this and showed up to my house to re-propose and brought all the things I'd once said would be my dream proposal. It hurt for many reasons. 1, if he wanted to, he would. 2, he's only doing this because he can't have me. 3, he doesn't care about my happiness. He knows I'm healed and moved on and is willing to jeopardize that. All that to say, I stood my ground and denied him and told him I was with someone new. There was a small fear in me to be like, wait, am I going to say no to what I always dreamed of for the potential of this new partner? But then I realized I wasn't saying no for the potential of the new partner. I was saying yes to maintain this new version of me. This version of me was joyful and liked herself and didn't realize how much that old relationship had made me dull and insecure. So I feel like I broke a curse. I'm no longer obsessed with getting married because I don't see it as something that will validate my worth, but will be something to celebrate my love with my partner. I don't get upset seeing other engagements. I'm overjoyed for them. So yes, now I'm with a lovely person who got the best version of me. A woman who knows her worth and claims it. I've set high standards and he's met them each without me asking. He's even told me about his plans to propose, though I've never initiated that conversation and not even worrying about it. It's a complete 180. So hopefully I'll have an engagement to share one day. But also if I don't, that's okay. And that's the point. I hope if you find yourself not being fully you, fully vibrant, that you check in on the relationship you're waiting on. They may just be keeping you from the most magical version of yourself, and maybe an amazing partner too, who will be everything you want and more. Edit, just want to say thanks to every comment. I've read them all, and they're so kind and supportive. This is a great community, and I really wish everyone in the sub the best. A commenter says to OP, what is it with men who won't commit to motorcycles? When I was going through it with my ex, he was also like, I make so much money, but I'm not financially stable enough for a ring. I do want to buy a motorcycle soon though. Also congrats on getting out of there. It can be hard. Purple says, the fact is that Tim only proposed so he can tell himself, well hey, I tried my best, she's the problem, before he goes to sleep every night. OP replies saying this, he for sure did it to evade guilt and convince others he was the victim. So it was 3 months later that OP updated this post and says, I wrote a post about 3 months ago about how I walked away from a shut-up ring, years ago, not recently, and I'm now healed and with a really awesome partner, and then shared the original post with the TLDR and then said here's the update. My fiance, the new partner from the post, proposed to me a few weekends back. It was truly the most magical, surreal thing. He did it on a trip and did it during the beginning of the trip so we could enjoy and celebrate the whole time together. I've been reflecting on how wonderful this dating and engagement experience has been. Here's 5 things I used to believe when I was the waiting for wed version of me, compared to what I believe now, along with my commentary for each. Take it or leave it, may not apply to all, and just my opinion. A proposal is synonymous with an engagement. I must conjure up signs and clues that indicate he's going to propose. Proposals can be a surprise, but the engagement shouldn't. I genuinely used to think that a guy would just propose and there was no agreement or understanding beforehand on the process. I'm sure this is the case for some. In my case, we've been informally engaged for some time, and the fun part was having him surprise me with a beautiful proposal. In the prior relationship, I would be left in the dark and clue hunting and tea leaf reading. With my fiancé, we agreed that we wanted to take this next step, and then he asked me how much I wanted to know about the process so we could agree on the surprises. I told him I wanted to know when he got the ring and when he asked my family for their blessing. Outside of that, surprise me. What I loved about this was he removed any anxiety, and instead it was a fun anticipation. 2. Hope he adds a little stop or no emoji and says, getting engaged matters to me, not my boyfriend. It's not something guys care about. Then adds a green tick emoji saying, my partner should have just as much enthusiasm as I do about the engagement. And Opie says, the sentence says it all. My fiancé was openly telling people before our engagement how excited he was, and after, of course, excitedly gushing about it to our friends, family, and strangers. Early in the relationship too, he would initiate conversations about this topic. That was new to me. I used to assume every girl had to initiate these conversations, and that guys just weren't excited about this sort of thing. Opie adds the stop no emoji again and says, my friends and family don't love my partner because they don't get it. Our love is deep and complicated, and it's us against the world. Then adds the green tick emoji saying, my friends and family will be thrilled when it's the right person. Of course, there's exceptions to this, but generally speaking, this is true. Our friends and family have acted like their favorite team just won the Super Bowl. Everyone is so happy we're engaged. In my past, people were more, I'm happy if you're happy about my prior engagement. If the overall consensus from those you love is concern, hear them out. Then adds the stop emoji again, saying, my partner isn't good at gift giving or planning. Those aren't his love language, and that's why he has an XZY. And adds the green tick emoji saying, regardless of my partner's love language, they're capable, caring, and value the details because they know it's important to me. Every detail of the engagement was so thoughtful, personable, and caring. From my fiancé knowing my gold/silver jewelry preference, to the location and how he asked. All aspects of the proposal showed me that he sees me, knows me, and cares for me. We never had a deadline or anything of that nature, but had a general conversation of when we'd like the proposal to happen after we agreed about the engagement. He proposed at the beginning of our agreed window. There was another refreshing detail. He didn't want me to agonize waiting for it to happen, and he couldn't wait himself. He didn't wait until the last moment and whip something together or make excuses as to why he couldn't do something. He just did it. Opie adds the no emoji one more time, saying, once we get engaged, these issues or that gnawing feeling that this isn't right will go away. Waiting on the ring is our only issue. Followed by the green tick emoji saying, a ring will not magically change your relationship. In my past, I sincerely believed that a ring would solve all of our problems. I thought that the disagreement on marriage and timelines was a siloed issue, our only issue, and that was not the case. When I got that shut-up ring, nothing changed. The problem merely morphed into a new issue. In my current relationship, I was so happy before the ring. A big contributing factor was that we both communicated early on our desires and expectations and were aligned. I also think I entered the relationship with a posture of, I know my worth, my wants, and I'm not settling. I'm not afraid to be single. In my past, I entered relationships quite the opposite and slouched with, please don't leave me. I just want you to be happy, even if that means I silence my actual desires, to my own detriment. A big factor of this posture shift was decentralizing my fixation on getting engaged. For a long time, getting engaged seemed like an elixir that would magically make my world wonderful and give me the validation I desperately wanted. After I left my ex, as I wrote in my original post, I did a lot of work to relearn how to love my life and be content with just me. For me, this looked like going to therapy regularly, leading into hobbies, volunteering and community engagement, and connecting with friends and family. This helped me relearn who I was and find the best individually whole version of me. I write all this because, as I said in my original post, I have the biggest soft spot for those waiting to wed. It's an incredibly isolating, confusing, and difficult place to be. I hope this post gives someone encouragement and makes them stand up for their worth and wants. I also wanted to share an update because I received so many kind words on my original post. Wanted to share how it all shook out. Commenters on the back of this one said, "Lovely summary. Hopefully others will read this and start working on their self-worth with as much effort and success as you did. Congratulations." The Silver Nail says, "Number 2 rule is so important. Guys may not care about what the ring looks like and the little details, but they should be enthusiastic about marrying you. Honestly, does anyone want someone who isn't?" Plastic Donut says, "I don't know if this is real. I hope so, but it needs to be pinned and a mandatory read before anyone posts on waiting to wed." OP says, "This is so sweet, and it's definitely real. I'm a very anxious person, so I don't like to put in too many identifiers in Reddit stories, which is why some details are vague for those reasons. Thank you." I do enjoy a story where people find their own self-worth, if you like, and just discover more about themselves in general. But what do you guys make of this situation? Have you ever received one of these shut-up rings? We've covered a couple of stories with these in the past, but what do you guys make of it? Let us know your thoughts down in the comments below. Now, just a huge thank you for being here today, getting involved in the stories, your love, your support, your time. It always means the absolute world to me. So thank you so much for being here, truly. And I will see you in the next one. Take care and much love.